No touching. My name is Mickey Sanderson. I'm a mom of 4 and I race mountain bikes. Raylan is 7 years old. He is nonverbal and he has a intractable epilepsy that is caused by a genetic mutation called SYNGAP1. Make-A-Wish Wyoming actually just granted Raylan a wish, and he has an adaptive tricycle now. Oh, he loves it. Absolutely loves it.
Look at you, go!
Giving a child an ability to move in a way that they were not able to do before is such a blessing. So when he was really little, he just wasn't meeting milestones. They originally diagnosed him with autism. They were saying that he, met a lot of the criteria, and then there were some other pieces that didn't quite fit the criteria, but he met enough of the criteria for him to be diagnosed with autism. He was having atonic seizures. So basically, your seizure starts in one hemisphere of your brain and then it jumps to the other hemisphere and it short circuits your body. So he drops to the ground. So he was getting concussions, he had nosebleeds. What they would tell me was, it's not a seizure, it's just he doesn't have great mobility, so he's tripping. I'd have these other specialists and they'd look at me and they'd be like, "You're nuts." We took him to this EEG. He had only been connected for 10 minutes of that 30 minutes. And the tech looked at me and she's like, "I have to step out." So she stepped out and she's like, "Your son is having way too much seizure activity in 10 minutes. So she called the neurologist and made a follow-up that day. So when he started him on medicine, they put him on Keppra, and Keppra made him worse. By the 4th medication that they just were switching over the phone, I was like, that's it. We're not doing this. We are not doing over the phone you treating my son. If you're not going to treat him, I'm going to ask for a second opinion from Children's Hospital in Denver. And that's exactly what I did. They did another 30-minute EEG. After that appointment, they were like, we need to do some genetic testing because he has all the markers for every kind of seizure that's out there. So he ended up with a genetic epileptologist. Late 2016, I started noticing the seizures, and he finally got diagnosed with SYNGAP1 October of 2017. So when they called me to tell me that Raylan was diagnosed with SYNGAP1, I was actually in the Burger King drive-thru, and I'll remember it forever. She was like, "He has SYNGAP1," and I was like, "What the heck is that? What does that even mean?" And she's like, "It's rare. He's number 500, and internationally that's been diagnosed. There's one foundation that is trying to study SYNGAP1," and I'm like, "Great. So now what?" She's like, "It's not curable," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." When you get a diagnosis, your hope is that you're going to feel better, right? That you're going to be excited that you now have a diagnosis. When I got that diagnosis for him, I feel like I broke all over again. I didn't know what I was supposed to do next. I had family members tell me that I coddled Raylan. He was the way he was because I didn't discipline him enough. When Raylan got diagnosed with a rare genetic mutation and I wasn't crazy anymore, I ultimately decided that nobody was going to tell me what my son needed except for me. When he got diagnosed and he was number 500, I was like, okay, he's number 500, let me pave the way for whoever comes behind me. I started talking to the SYNGAP research and I was like, what can I do to help? And I was like, I'm not good at some things. I'm like, I can ride a mountain bike though. Mountain biking is such a loving community. It is a community that's everybody has a life story and they want to listen to it. There seriously are 1,097 patients that have been diagnosed. Raylan was number 500 in 2017. It's doubled in a few years. I don't think SYNGAP is as rare as it is underdiagnosed. In 2020, they did an FDA meeting. SYNGAP now, it has a code, a medical code. Now I don't have to fight with insurance because he has this unknown genetic diagnosis, which has been a battle. When you have a child who has an ongoing medical, the last thing you need to be worried about is fighting a battle with an insurance company. Leadville. It is the race across the sky. It is a 100-mile mountain bike race, and I got in through the lottery. So the lottery opens in December. So you put in all your information, you put your credit card on file, you put, if you have a Leadville story, what's your Leadville story? And of course I shared Raylan's story. I had to wait until January, like a month later, for them to even send me an email and say whether or not I got in. The title of it says, "Saddle up, Mickey, you're going to Leadville." And I was like, oh my gosh, I wish. And I just started crying. I was like, well, now I have to figure out how I can get to Leadville, because that is a really big race. And imagine the amount of people I can meet. I'm really excited. My kids are gonna be there. My husband's gonna be there. And they've actually never seen me race before. Like, they'll be at mile 40, where I'm either getting cut off at mile 40 or I get to keep going at mile 40. They're gonna be there in this moment of just vulnerability for me that I don't think my kids have seen. So they can either hug me when I finish at that 40 miles, or they can say, "We'll see you when you come back down, Mom."
No, actually, I was like,
So why
well,
were you
now that they
crying?
pulled my tag, I just want to hold my kids and hug them.
Well, turn the gravel as I go. That's why they call me the MTV Queen. Who's the queen? None.
I did a crap ton of miles on a mountain bike, and I put my face and Raylan's story in front of a bunch of people.